Good morning, Rebel Tribe. We're starting a new series today called Hometown Heroes. And I would love to spotlight our first hometown hero, the amazing Feed Rogers. It is a food pantry that is redefining what it means to serve with dignity and compassion. Now that you've heard what a hometown hero looks like, I think we've got someone in mind, a teacher, a coach, a volunteer, a small business with a huge heart. So if you know someone like that, drop me their name, message me directly because I want to shine a light on them next. Okay, so today's guest is Eleazar. Eleazar, I'm going to admit I don't know your last name. I should have looked
Well,
that up, but we
no,
see each other all the time. So,
right. It's Herrera.
okay. My guest today, Eleazar Herrera. Come on, guys, you're used to me. You know that I'm never prepared for these things. So, what is your role at Feed Rogers? Can you share that with us?
Yeah. So I'm Eleazar Herrera, and I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for the NWA Food Bank.
Okay. And the reason I wanted you to kind of tell exactly what you do is because I've volunteered at food pantries and things all over the place because it's a big passion of mine. Food insecurity is a huge issue. And I've never worked in a food pantry that has some of the programs that I see at Feed Rogers. So I want to talk about that later, but I really wanted people to see that there is a difference here. So for listeners who might not be familiar, what exactly is Feed Rogers and what inspired its creation?
Yeah, so um, basically, Feed Rogers came out or was born out of like the pandemic. The food bank was trying to find ways to get more food out during, coronavirus and anyone facing those food insecurity situations. And so after years of like planning and fundraising, Feed Rogers was opened up in, I believe, the early part of 2022. And so it was just, you know, selecting things off the shelves, off of coolers, providing shopping appointments, and then also providing workshops. And that's basically in a nutshell what Feed Rogers is.
And that's what makes it so different. One thing I noticed, because like I said, I have volunteered at food pantries all over the place. And the first thing I noticed, and it's because Rosie actually corrected me when I was talking about a customer and I used the word customer, and she
Mhm.
corrected me and said that no, these are our neighbors. I love that you call the people you serve neighbors. Why was that word choice so important to your mission?
Basically, the goal of Feed Rogers is to welcome on everyone and to have them, come in with a sense of dignity and respect. And it also is like it makes them feel like a sense of community. It is a little bit odd at times where maybe if someone is new um, in the volunteer role, they might come up to me and they're like, "Hey, this customer has this question, or this client has this question," and in my mind, it just doesn't sound right. I think there's different connotations with those words at times. Um, but everyone everyone that comes in, whether it be two parents, single mom, somebody trying to get back on their feet, we all call them neighbors.
It does make a difference. And like I said, I did make that mistake and was immediately corrected. And it does make a difference. It really does make a
Mhm.
difference. I honestly think if we spend a little more time thinking of people as our neighbors, the world might
Right,
be a little
right.
better place.
Just helping out the neighbors, yeah.
I have to admit, Feed Rogers feels different. It feels so different from what most people picture when they think food pantry.
Hmm.
Can you walk us through what a visit looks like for a neighbor from like start to finish?
Yeah, so in order to shop at Feed Rogers, you need to have an account, because it is based off like appointments. But basically, you can sign up online, or you can do it in person. You can even do it over the phone. You can email us, and we'll create that account for you. It's just as simple as name, uh, good contact info, whether it be a phone number or email, address, and then just listing everyone that lives in the home. And then that information always stays in-house with us. We don't share it with state agencies, federal agencies. That's for our own data use. So once that account gets created, you can select a time that is convenient for you to come shop. And then once it's the day of the appointment, we have a greeter station where the greeter has a list of everyone that has an appointment. If you don't have an appointment, whether you're new or whether you missed your appointment, we do have walk-in slots. There's one every 15 minutes. But for this sake, let's just say that they do have an appointment. They'll come in, they'll say, "Hey, my name is Eleazar Herrera. I have an appointment at 1:15." They'll mark me off that I'm present. They'll go over to the check-in station. At the check-in station, that's where they set up an appointment for the next month. That's also the station where if there's anything that's changed, phone numbers, home addresses, if I need to add people, if I need to delete people out of my household, all that can get taken care of there. They'll get a shopping guide, and then from that shopping guide, it's basically a reference to know how many items they can select off the shelves, off of the end caps, what to look for as far as like the bread items, the produce bins as well, and then of course the coolers, because those the coolers, the produce bins, and end caps and the breads, those are always changing. It's not always the same amounts at times. And I do tell people whenever they're new, as I'm walking them through the pantry, that, hey, for example, like on the breads, today it's one white bread and one sweet bread. Next month it could be a different amount. And same thing with the produce bins is what I tell them as well. Like it could be different produce, it could be different amounts. It's always changing. And so once they're done with that, once they've selected all their shopping needs, they'll go over to the bagger station. They're just making sure that they are getting the correct amounts. If, for example, if they didn't get anything from like the breakfast section, they'll mention it to them like, hey, you didn't get anything from the breakfast section. Would you like to go back and get, two items from there? And most of the times people, they might either forget that there's a breakfast section. They may not even know where the breakfast section is, but they'll go out and get it. And then, of course, if a neighbor is like, no, I don't need anything from that, or I'm allergic to that, or don't need it, we're not going to push anything on them as well that they don't want or need. And then after that, they'll take their shopping cart and load up their vehicle, and they go with a pretty good size amount of groceries with them.
Yeah, I actually calculated in my head you can pretty well feed yourself for a month just on what you get from Feed Rogers. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you know, I mean, yeah. So how has creating a grocery store style experience, where I think that's what struck me first is kids. My gosh, the kids. I remember this little boy who came in and was just elated that he got to choose because there was a couple different kinds of cereals on the shelves that day. And he was just thrilled that he got to pick the kind he wanted.
Yeah.
So how has that whole grocery store style experience where they actually get to choose their own food instead of just having a box shoved at them and go, here you go. How has that changed the way people feel when they come in?
You know, um, I know that a lot of pantries out, um, and it's also due to like their funding and maybe the structure of their building and how they set up things. Like, they get that box, and they more or less kind of know what to expect. But with Feed Rogers, like kind of how I mentioned before, like things are always changing. Um, for whether it be on the bread side of things, like there's different amounts and different varieties that we get. So like just having the opportunity to like, hey, I get to choose, a rye bread or a sourdough bread, or hey, I could take home like a 6 pack of donuts. It's very empowering. Even on the show staple goods or the canned goods, we get different varieties as well. Like on the like on the protein side of things, people are grateful that, there's pinto beans, there's black beans, sometimes there's different kinds of beans. So it's just very empowering like that they have the opportunity to choose what they need, maybe what they want as well. And then same thing goes on the produce side of things. Like there's not a lot of pantries that have produce, but again, just knowing that, hey, I get to take home a bag of bananas, but I also can take some corn, some apples, some bananas. Again, very, very empowering, very uplifting. And that also gives them ideas of like, like, oh, okay, maybe I could make some banana bread, or hey, I can, cook this for tonight or for the rest of the week.
So what kind of feedback have you received from like the community about this model?
People are always surprised and they're also very thankful. Yesterday, I was out tabling at Oakdale Middle School, and I was basically the school had like a community resource fair for any parents and kids that were there for their parent teacher conferences. And as I was talking to them about Feed Rogers, a lot of them were like surprised of like, oh, I get to choose. I'm like, yeah, you get to choose, you know, uh, the items off of the shelves, the items off of the produce bins, the items off of the coolers, the breads. Um, and so a lot of people, and I've been to several food pantries here in the area as well. And really, there's not many like Feed Rogers where it's, client choice pantry of just being able to pick and choose what you're needing and what you're wanting.
Now I know that you require a ton of volunteers to keep this place running. So can you tell us a little more about the volunteers who help make this experience so welcoming, basically?
Yeah, so I mean, we wouldn't be able to do what we can without the help of our volunteers. Here at Feed Rogers and even at the food bank. So we are always very uh, thankful to our volunteers. We're always welcoming in new volunteers. There's been some that have been since Feed Rogers first opened back in 2022, and there's been some that uh, you know they've come not knowing what Feed Rogers is, but after they stay for a shift, they are wanting to come back, or they're wanting to know like what other role could I do next time. So we always welcome anyone that wants to come out and help. And then I would just say that all of our volunteers, they make every neighbor feel welcome. They inform them about how Feed Rogers is laid out. And then if they run into like those odd questions or, those odd situations, they'll come grab me, Rosario, Jessica, and like, hey, this neighbor's needing help with this. Like, what could we help them out with? And so they're willing to learn as well. The ins and outs of Feed Rogers as well. So it really is a blessing to have them. And some of them they stick to a particular role because they love it. They're really good at it. And then we have some that, every time they come, they're always doing something different. So it's also nice for them to also try out different aspects in the positions that we have here.
Yeah, I know how that is because I tend to always be the greeter. I just love meeting the people when they walk
Yeah,
in. So yeah,
yeah,
that's
no,
that's kind of my spot.
it's kind of just playing to their strengths. Like some people really love bagging, some people love doing the check-in, some people like being the greeter. So I always say just play to your strengths. Like I I think I do a lot of bagging, and I always get what's it called? Um, Several compliments at times because sometimes I don't wear the like my name badge, and I've never bagged anything in my life other than like at the self checkout. So whenever I'm bagging up a neighbor, they're like, "You must have worked at like Harps or Walmart." I'm like, "Nope, I've never bagged anything up until up until recently." but yeah, it's just whatever interests you, whatever your strengths are, like just you know, give it a shot.
Now, one thing that really struck me because I really wasn't aware. I'd seen it on the little newsletter flyers that you lay out all the time, and it caught my eye, but I didn't ask. And then one day I just finally decided to ask, what what is this? So one thing that really stands out is your commitment to providing more than food. Okay, you offer all kinds of information and classes and connections, and I have never seen that at a food pantry before. So what kinds of community partners do you typically work with?
I mean, I am open to basically anyone in any kind of organization because we're always trying to diversify uh, our partners that come in as well. I mean, we've had uh, our Arkansas Early Learning, we've had the NWA Center for Sexual Assault, we've had some independent um, uh, health insurance agents come in as well. Um, we just have a variety. I always like to the way I look at it, it's always like, who can we bring in next? Who have we not reached out to? It's just letting people know about the resources that are out here, because for example, even just like Feed Rogers, there are we're getting like new neighbors every so often, and they'll mention to me that they never knew about this place before, and so that's kind of the mindset that I have with like you know. With our partners that come in the table, that come in to do workshops. They, I feel like everyone should know the resources that are out there, whether it be for themselves or if they happen to know someone like, hey, I'm struggling to find, uh, a job and I'm trying to build my resume and I don't know how. Someone could just be like, hey, like, Dress for Success is coming, this time this month. They can help you out with resumes. They can help you out with any job searching, and also able to provide clothing if that's also an obstacle that you're facing. Um, and so it's just it's also been just very grateful because we've had a few that again, maybe didn't know about the resources. They happen to come in the shop, and there they are tabling right side the check-in station, and just making sure that you know they're provide they're providing all the resources and services that they have in their power to help out our neighbors as well.
So can you share an example of how one of these partnerships made a difference for a neighbor?
So yes, I cannot remember their name at this time, and it's going to hit me after we finish the podcast. But I had someone from Fort Smith. Basically, their program is to help people with their homes, whether that be uh, providing basically assistance with like if they have a refrigerator that's like old, is not working properly well, like this program has the funds to uh, what's it called? Uh, replace our refrigerator. They could also do some other like home repairs. And basically, this was just a program where you did have to meet certain income requirements and also provide documentation. And so they got with me, we selected a time and date, and then I sent out like a mass email to everyone, letting them know like, hey, this program is going to be here on this date and time. These are the requirements. These are the documents that you would be needing. And I sent out that email, and I didn't get any feedback at first. I was like, I don't know if anyone got it, if anyone is interested. And then the day of the program, they set up shop, they set up like a big display to let them know who they were, the services that they're providing. And it was a Friday. We opened that at 9 a.m. And there were several people holding documents, or they had like binders or folders of things. And I didn't really think much of it. And then, we opened the doors, and here they come in. And those binders and folders were all the documents that they were needing to provide for that basically utility assistant program. Um, and so at the end of the day, from what I was told, they had 13 applications submitted. Some people went back and got the documents that they needed. Some people just took the application and said, hey, well, we will mail it in. Um, and then a few months passed, and we had some neighbors mention to us that, they had their refrigerators replaced because they were already old or using too much power. So they got more efficient ones. They had dates where somebody was going to come in and inspect their home. Um, and pretty much see what all needed to be repaired. And this was a program that again was free; it didn't cost anything. Just a free service that, as long as they submitted the documents, submitted, all the right paperwork, they were going to get that help. And especially, how things have been lately, like people need all the help that they can get.
That's awesome. That's fabulous. So you even host educational workshops, like the one I'm going to be teaching on how to use AI to meal plan and stuff in December. Why is that kind of education also an important part of your mission?
It's just being able to provide the resources, the tools, that people face in their everyday lives. We have things from like, you know, meal nutritions. We've had some like basic like what is mental health, this upcoming month, or rather uh this month in October and even November, we'll have some workshops talking about like understanding healthcare, like what is healthcare. We'll have one in English, we'll have one in Spanish, because again, I think uh a lot of this stuff is just, as simple as just knowledge is power. Like, the more you know, the more you'll be able to, you know, hopefully figure out and have the tools to, overcome the daily obstacles that one may have. And so it's always great. A lot of our neighbors are very um, receptive. They're also very grateful for the workshops that we have. And on top of the workshops, we do give them an opportunity to shop afterwards, kind of like an incentive. And so, people are also very grateful about that as well.
So I want to get into the bigger picture a little bit, okay? Because Speed Rogers is supplying a need for a huge problem both here in Arkansas and across the country. So let's talk about that bigger picture for a moment. How serious is the issue of food insecurity right now in Arkansas? And how
It's
have you seen that look? How's that being reflected locally?
Yeah, so it's a very serious issue. Arkansas is the number one nation facing food insecurity. And I think the big misconception is that, it's NWA, there's the Tyson money, there's the Walmart money, there's money all over the place. But I honestly believe that it's like just an issue that no one really wants to talk about, or they just, choose to ignore. Um, we we've definitely seen a huge increase in new households coming in to visit us. I believe back in August, we had our highest amount of new households coming in to shop. Um, it's just, and then of course with all the things that we're seeing lately, with several services being cut or no longer being funded, we anticipate that there's going to be a higher increase, but I know that um, we're going to do everything in our power to close the gap as possible, and you know be ready to help out our neighbors. It's I cannot tell you that every day, there's always a neighbor that is very grateful for what we're doing. It's always thanking the volunteers there, because they face challenges that maybe some people, again, just they're not used to hearing the stories. They don't want to hear the stories. because they think it's NWA, like everything's, peachy. Um, but, and of course, our population continues to grow. So we'll definitely also be seeing more newer households and neighbors coming in through our doors.
So what do you think? Because you said some things that kind of struck me. It's NWA. There's all, like you said, there's all kinds of money here. This is the rich part of Northwest of Arkansas. There's all kinds of money here. Nobody should have any problems. Nobody's hungry. What do you think people misunderstand most about food insecurity?
I mean, I would say that, there's multiple layers as to why people face food insecurity. Uh, whether it be the loss of a job, I mean, that could be one thing. There's also other factors, mental health, uh, lack of insurance, and then having to, you know, uh, uh, deal with those medical bills. There's also just, other things that, so again, just some of the stories that our neighbors share, like, they're taking care of, someone that is chronically ill, or sometimes even multiple people that are chronically ill, whether that be friends or whether that be family. There's just a huge amounts of layers to it. And, and sometimes, unfortunately, there's also been those stories of like, hey, like I didn't know what to pay for, whether it be my medication, my food. Um, there's tons of layers, and it's really just uh, needing to sit down and seeing like, hey, what are what's the population facing? Like, what how can we best help them so that they don't have to choose between food and you know uh, the car payment or even the rent or the mortgage, because that's also another thing that we've been seeing as well, is just the higher cost of several things as well.
I know. I wish people could understand that just because we have all this money here and we are so grateful, I know, to Tyson and Walmart for all that they give back to the communities here. Um, but it's not enough. Okay? It's not
Hmm.
enough. So what are some of the biggest wins or proudest moments since Speed Rogers opened its doors?
Man, I would just say, being able to help out, you know, our neighbors that are facing those tough situations, like it's uh, it's truly humbling whenever someone tells me that, you know, this is so great. And I could see it, just based off um, their facial expressions. There's been a few people that are, as I'm packing things up, they're almost in tears, because, you know, they weren't sure if they were going to have any food. I think one of the biggest wins, or at the beginning of this year, we decided to take the approach of offering more fresh produce. And so that meant allocating some funds from the things that we would, get for like the canned goods and box shelf items. We allocated that money to provide fresh produce, and we uh, we didn't get any pushback. And what I mean by that is like originally the shopping guide that the neighbors get, it would be reflective of um, uh, how many people are in the household. So, for example, if you had four people or more in the household, you got X amount of things that you can get off of the shelves. But when we made that change, a lot of people were very grateful, and we've had a ton of fresh produce come in through, beets, tomatoes, carrots, broccoli, um, purple green peppers, which I never knew was a thing, cucumbers, and people are very grateful that we have that option now. Um, there was like a very, very, very small number of people that were kind of like, "Wait, what do you mean I can only get two items now from the shelf? Like I have a family of 10, I have a family of however many number." And we explained it to them, like just being transparent, like, hey, we use that funds to get produce for you all. But if you're needing, that additional help, like I can provide you with other pantries in the area that are, kind of similar to us. And, as soon as people got that, they were also very thankful as well. Another big win for us is that uh, we started off with 5 pounds of chicken. Now every household can get 10 pounds of chicken. And that's also due to us obtaining an external freezer. So that means we can store more, store more chicken and meats. And again, even just we've made the change back in September. Yeah, um, and people weren't aware that the amount had changed. So whenever they came over to the bagging, we'd be like, "Hey, you can get more chicken if you want." And the look on their face of like, "What do you mean I can get more?" It's like, "Yeah, like it's 10 pounds more now in total." And so we'll let them like, "Yeah, go back and get more chicken, or you can grab this and that." So just again, uh, being able to give more to them has been, whether it be on the produce or on the chicken side, it's just been, um, one of a very proud moment, really.
Can I talk about the kids?
Yeah, talk about the
I
kids.
I love the kids because you've got these two little shopping carts, and these kids come in and they grab those carts, and they're just so thrilled to be running around, and they're getting stuff off the shelves, and they're putting it in their little carts. And a lot, and some of it's really good food. And sometimes it surprises me what those kids are choosing. But yeah, there's always a few little treat things available. And I know I'm already listening to the people that are going, well, if you're on food assistance, you don't need to be eating blah, 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 blah. Come on, people. Really? What kid doesn't deserve a cupcake or a cookie every now and again? Let's be real. And they're just so thrilled when they can grab a box of cereal that they like, or
Mhm.
that little cupcake, or that, and it cracks me up because they're just running around the store with their little shopping carts getting their food. And they're so cute.
Yeah,
But it
like
makes a
even
difference for them to be able to pick and see things and not be
right.
told, no, you can't have that. Ah,
Yeah. They those shopping carts for the kids, it's only the two. They're helping out their parents. They also feel like they're helping out, whenever they get over to the bagging station. Some of the kids are like, I want to put the things on the bagging station. Like they want to help out as well. So it's also just um, you know, a very good feeling whenever a kid as young as like, 4 or 5 is just like, I want to put the things on their dad, or I want to put the things on their mom. And, again, it's just uh, uh, a very good, a very good feel just seeing that, okay, they also feel empowered as well.
yeah. And they're learning about healthy food choices when they can
Mhm.
see, especially like when they're going through the produce section and stuff. And sometimes there will be some produce there that they've never seen before because, like you said, there's not a lot of produce out there in the food pantry world. And there will be something up there that they've never seen. And I've had them when I've been working the greeter station, I've had them come over and ask me, what is this?
Yeah,
And what can they do with it? And I love different kinds of produce and stuff, so I usually know what it is, and I'll talk to them, and I'll talk to the little kids especially, and be like, they'll, what does it taste like? And I'll tell them, and it's just they're learning about how to make food choices that are healthy for them. So I love it. How can
right,
local
right.
residents or businesses or listeners, how can they get involved, whether it's volunteering, donating, partnering? What do you need?
So on the volunteer side, just going to our webpage, you can, there is a tab on there for volunteering. And basically, you just set up a profile. You will then be able to select whether you want to go to Feed Rogers or the warehouse. Either one is fine. If you happen to choose the Feed Rogers food pantry, you can select the the day, the time, position. There is a brief video to what each role pretty much involves. Um, and our shifts are just 2 hours long. Like I told families yesterday at that tabling event, hey, it's only 2 hours long. Yeah, you can stay more if you like, or if there's the opportunity to stay longer. but it's just 2 hours long. And again, a lot of people were like, "Oh, okay." Like, I guess they think it's like a full day commitment or something like that. It's like, no, just 2 hours of your time if you have it. We'd like, we'd love to have you. And I just think that uh, we've had a few organizations that have come to maybe do a workshop for us. They're like, well, I want to learn more about what you guys are doing or the work that you guys are doing. And they'll offer their time to come out and volunteer. And a lot of them, you know, not only do they see what's going on at Feed Rogers, like what we're putting on the shelves, what we're putting in the coolers, but they also get to hear those stories as well. And they know like that, oh, there's good work being done here. Um, as far as donating, I would say uh, again, just reach out to us, call us, email us, and whether it be in the financial side of things or even just donating like food items. We've had a few uh, neighbors come in and they're like, "Hey, like I grew some bell peppers from my garden. I wanted to pass it on to you." Or sometimes there are neighbors that they maybe they have a surplus of items and like, hey, like I don't eat this stuff or I didn't want to throw it away, so I wanted to come on and give it to you. So we'll gladly take donations as well, whether it be from, like I mentioned, a small garden or just someone that doesn't wants to put it to good use. And then as far as partnering, like I mentioned before, any organization that wants to come table, wants to lead a workshop, reach out to me. Would love to talk to you, get to know more about your services and more about your organization, and just try to figure out what's the best way to partner, whether it be tabling, whether it be leading a workshop. We'll hash out all the details.
So what's next for Feed Rogers? I mean, we got the big freezer. I was surprised when I saw that I guess it went in during a week when I wasn't around because I came in and like, what's this?
Yeah. Um,
Any other upcoming programs or dreams or anything that you're excited about?
well, I would say that I know that our food bank is always just trying to figure out ways of like, hey, like how can we, you know, get food out there more? How can we best serve what's it called? Our our neighbors. I know that we will continue to provide, fresh produce and healthier healthier food options. And then the goal really is just to uh, again, like I mentioned, try to innovate. Uh, what Feed Rogers can do, um, and I know that maybe people are aware, or maybe they're not, but uh, we are now pretty much in a transitional phase with our CEO, Kent. He is retiring, and we have a new CEO stepping in named Taylor. So I'm sure he'll also be bringing in new ideas. He'll be wanting to talk to each department, and again, just that idea of like, how can we best serve our neighbors? What are we not doing? Who are we not reaching out to? Right now for Feed Rogers, it's just being able to um, you know, providing that healthier food options, and then just, what are the best ways that we can serve our neighbors?
So the theme of this series is hometown heroes. When you think about that phrase, what does being a hometown hero mean to you personally? Because as far as I'm concerned, Feed Rogers and everybody that works there, staff, volunteers, you're all hometown heroes because you feed a lot of people that wouldn't have food otherwise.
Hometown hometown hero. I just think of it like just someone that's serving their community with an open heart and even just doing, you know, something like providing food, Um, I'll give a shout out for the love. I don't know if you're aware of them, but they provide meals throughout the week in different parts of NWA. On Mondays, they're at the Jones Center. Um, in their parking lot. And, you know, it's the same idea like Feed Rogers, like anyone can just come up and, grab a meal for themselves or for their kids. It's just, someone that's able to, you know, uh, provide a service without it ever feeling like, hey, I did something for you. Now you got to do something for me. Um, and again, just uh, whether it be a person or an organization that could be relatable as well, because that's another thing too. Like um, uh, you, I think people gravitate towards those that are relatable, and even here at Feed Rogers, I'm able to share stories with some of the people that are uh, that are coming in, and sometimes even just the interaction that we have, I realize like, oh, I've been done bagging, but we're still talking, you know. So I would say it's just yeah, just someone that's relatable, but is helping out without it ever feeling like a transaction.
Sweet. I need you to give me the name of that organization you were just talking about too.
For
The,
for
the
the
one that
love,
for the love? Sweet.
yes. So yeah, they like I mentioned they're out in different cities. They cook their own meals as well. And it's basically just an open invite to anyone that is, needing a meal or wanting a meal. There's no questions asked. There's no, again, kind of like Feed Rogers. There's no, just you're just another number. You're just, no, nothing like that.
And I love that. I love that because I have had that question before when people who know that I know you guys will ask me like, well, what kind of documentation do I need to bring? And there's a nothing, just show up, okay? Just
Oh
show
yeah,
up,
like
give us your name, your address, and some contact information, and you're good to go.
I think there's just like a perceived, you know, information or something where, you know, where I tell them like, hey, I just need your name, address, phone number. And they're like, that's it. I'm like, that's it. There's no like small print or anything that says like, oh, we're also going to need you to provide this or that. Like, sometimes even like they'll whip out their ID. I'm like, I don't need that. As long as you can just help me spell out your name, you know. But even some people are just quick, and maybe that's just again their perceived notion of what a food pantry is. Um, but yeah, no, like I said, we invite anyone. Everyone is welcome. And I always tell people too, like uh, whether you need us just for the month, whether you need us long term, like hey, we are here to, you know, serve you in the best way possible.
So what message would you like to share with other communities who want to serve with this same level of dignity and compassion?
Um, I would just say like speak to your community, see see what stories that they have to share. Um, you know, what makes them tick, what's hurting in the community. Um, that's really the best way to to figure out what is going on in the community. Is just talking to people. And then whether it be coming to Feed Rogers and partnering with us or, helping us on the volunteer end. Or it could even be something like, hey, like I've noticed that we don't have this type of service or we don't have this type of help here. What do we need to do to get started so that we are reaching those that are, underserved? Um, and again, I would say with like Feed Rogers, I know I've only been here like a year, but I've talking to um, the staff here, like Lauren and Rosario and Sabrina, of course. Feed Rogers started out back in 2022. It had a different format, but now it's different from what it was when it first started. But I think you also need that adaptability to see like, hey, like what's working, what's not, what can we change, what can we improve. I would also say that as well for, whether someone wants to start a nonprofit or some kind of organization, or even if it's, sometimes even the feedback that we get from our own volunteers, it's like, hey, like, is there a way we can do this, or how can we, help them understand that, you know, um, this is that, or whatever. Um, just also you know, being adaptable, open to feedback, of course. And so, Feed Rogers, who knows, maybe next year might look, there might be something that we change up or we add. So it's um, always growing as well.
Sweet. Well, Eleazar, it's been awesome. See, guys, I told you that these were hometown heroes worth knowing. Feed Rogers, it's proof. It's proof that kindness, innovation, and a whole lot of heart can change how we take care of one another. So if you felt that spark today, go pay it forward. Volunteer, donate,
We
just
are
show
open on
up.
Saturdays. I know people are always surprised about that one as well, whether it be for the volunteering aspect or the shopping aspect. They're like, "Oh, you guys are open on Saturdays?" Like, yeah, 9 to 12.
So just show up. Show up for someone in your neighborhood. Okay. That's how we keep this things going. That's how we keep that little ripple going. And hey,
Mhm.
if you know another hometown hero doing big things in a small town way, let me know. Okay. I'm always on the lookout for the next story to tell. So this is Melodian and Eleazar signing off, reminding you that you don't have to wear a cape to be a hero. Sometimes you just need to care enough to act.
There you go.